Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. So today I am finally going to tackle a big question I've had while reading the books is who should have won the Game of Thrones. So how this is going, a couple disclaimers. I am not going to follow canon. So if a character dies, but I really think they should have won, I'm going to explain it. So this is not a canon exercise. Obviously, if you watched all 8 seasons, you know what happens. And even that's not really guaranteed based off of characters that are missing. That I haven't really gotten to yet because I haven't read books 4 and 5. So this is based off my knowledges of reading the first 3 books and watching the show. To its entirety a couple times. So how this is gonna work is I have my whiteboard here, and I'm just going to kind of talk about if they did rule what went bad, what went wrong, and if they didn't, why I don't really think, or if I do think they would have been a good candidate. I'm gonna go that way as well. So obviously you have to start with Robert, because he was the first on the throne. So, a couple of things with Robert that put him on the throne. One, he won the, sorry guys, it is like early in the morning and I'm trying to think. Robert's Rebellion. Mad King is dead. They need a quick king. So Robert wins that. But I'm gonna I'm gonna go over some prophecies, some lines from the show that tells me why Robert wouldn't be a good king. He didn't want it. And I think his depression for having to marry Cersei and not getting Lyanna Stark really puts him in a negative headspace for the rest of his reign. He did not want to marry Cersei. Him and Cersei do not get along. And there's this line that they don't understand why the kingdom's doing so good. And they, either Robert or Cersei say, well, it's our marriage. And then they start laughing. Because their marriage is not that great. So, but Robert has 2 brothers, Ramley and Stannis. And if I spell these names wrong, guys, I am so sorry. I might turn my computer on. So, that's kind of the rough, succession outline. Obviously, there's kids of Robert's that we'll get to in a second. But I want to talk about these 2 for a second here. So, the thing that Robert does a real good job is he has a good counsel. And when you are a ruler of anything, so you have to have good people that understand things you don't understand. So you have in his council, you have Littlefinger that understands money. You have and how to get money. Okay, that's why Robert is with Cersei, because she's a Lannister, and Lannisters have money. So, good job, Littlefinger, on that. He knows how to play that situation. You also have to understand your people. Now, looking at these 3 potential rulers, who do I think would understand the people the most? Stannis is too much of he relies too much on prophecy. That's his big downfall. Relies too much on prophecy. So he does some really stupid things because of the prophecy. Because of the Red Woman, he does some really stupid things. I don't think he would have been a good ruler. Now, if I'm going Robert Stannis, do I think that line would have been okay? Yes. Do I ever think Joffrey should have been on the throne? No. And it's not because of the things that you basically think of. We get into a couple other things in a second here. But, yeah, Stannis relies too much on prophecy. Now, if he was to get his head out of the prophecy line and really think strategically, I think Stannis would have been a good ruler. But then you have Renly that has Margaery. Hold on, guys. I am going to... Thank you. And a positive that he has is that he has the Tyrells. So I think... And you can't read this board. I do. Okay. He has the Tyrells. Now, the thing with the Tyrell family is that I really think they understand the people that they rule. They're a pretty peaceful family. And they're a pretty understanding family. Because they know the brother's gay. They know a few other things. I think they knew Ramsay. Like, Margaery definitely knew Ramsay was gay for her brother. Like, that was a pretty open relationship. There was a whole bunch of understanding. And I think if I had to find somebody that would focus on the people aspect, Ramsay would have been doing a good job because he had the Tyrells. You don't always have to... This is the thing. To be a king or to be a ruler of this world, I don't think you have to know everything. That's not... What are they doing out there? I do apologize, guys. I feel like every time I film, like, chaos. But you have to have people behind you that understand you and understand your flaws. And I think that's the thing with Robert's council that was done really well. Was they understood his flaws. They understood that he's never going to come to a meeting. But this is what the king wants. This is how we're going to get it done. So, but Ramsay and the Tyrells, they understand people. And they understand what the lower class of people need to survive. So, when you're thinking of, what's most important to a big group of people, it's, are we getting taken care of as a society? More than anything else. So, that is basic economy. That's basic, okay, like, if I come in to, share my thoughts, like, my sheep died, I think so-and-so did it, what's the what happens next? And a lot of it's based off of this whole idea of how the ruler decides to rule. And I don't think Robert was really for the people. I think he was like, he saw that the Mad King was not great for just society in general and took him out. Like, he was like, that's going to become a really bad situation. Sorry about that. I need to get the eraser. So when we're talking about Robert, like, he was a good, like, let's overthrow. He was a good, like, we're gonna start a rebellion, we're gonna win this. I don't think he thought, like, I'm gonna become king after this. He's just, I don't like the ruler that's in charge. I need to start a rebellion so we can get him out of charge. Now I'm going to talk about Ned. And kind of his Ned Stark. And no, I don't have a gray, and it just shows up better on the board. So with Ned Stark, we have the potential of Robb Stark, Sansa, which is all of his kids, Arya, and then we have the potential of Jon Snow. I think that's all. Oh, and then we have Bran and Rickon. Okay. So we are now going to the Stark family. So we have Ned Stark and then all of his kids. And then obviously we have Catelyn here as well. When Ned Stark belongs in the North. That is the thing that I so he should have stayed in the North. Now, would we have had a show if Ned stayed in the North? Possibly. Because we still have... So, basically, what happens in the North is Bran gets pushed off of the roof. And this happens in the North. And then somebody tries to kill him. So, we still have that catalyst that could have been something that excuse me that could have still started something pretty substantial. Ned could have gone after those Lannisters in like 20 seconds. I'm not going to count the wolf thing because the wolf thing was kind of in the middle. But that could potentially been another catalyst. But with Bran getting pushed off of the tower, kind of pushed Ned. Ned got pushed to go to the south, to King's Landing, in a couple of different ways. His main mentor died unexpectedly. You have Robert begging on his knees, because Robert is a child in some ways. So I also don't think he would have made a good king. And figuring out the whole Bran situation. And then he gets there and then he finds out about Joffrey. Now, if I think if you really think about Ned's like downfall, his downfall is that he is a very truthful man. Now, that doesn't sound bad. And I think in the North, that's a good trait, is to be truthful, to be honest. His people seem like they respect him in any way. They seem like they always respect the Starks. There's always a Stark in Winterfell. There's probably a reason. It seems like this family of people that have ruled over the North have done a very good job. Or they would have started a rebellion a long time ago and we would have probably had a different family by now. But there is something about that legacy that does Ned make a good ruler? Yes, and I think he has a good council too. It's very small because I don't think the North has as many issues at that point. I think when we first start the show, we're in like peaceful times. Like it's summer, spring, summer. The longest summer that they've seen in a while. And Robert's rebellion went successfully. It's been pretty peaceful in King's Landing, minus that one incident. So the catalyst really is the death of the Hand, and I can't remember his name. And who did it and all that other stuff. And then when Ned dies, what should we have done? So I'm going to talk about each of the kids and kind of what they bring to the table. Robb Stark has Catelyn on his side. And I think that's a big thing for Robb. He should have listened to his mother pretty much the whole entire time. And he wouldn't have... nobody would have died if he listened to his mother and did what he was supposed to do and maybe had a side piece with the other girl. But he decided to be honorable, which seems like a downfall for all the Starks. Honorable doesn't work. People end up being dead. So he marries the girl he wants to marry, which go use Robb, and then gets killed at the Red Wedding. Now, do I think he would have made a good ruler? Possibly. If he got to rule in a way where he could have stayed up in the North. I think this is going to be a theme. Is that the Starks should stay up north. Like, the Starks should not be going south and dealing with all that shenanigans because they can't handle it. They're just sitting there being two honorable people. Minus a couple of them, and I'm gonna get to Sansa and Arya in just a second here. But yeah, Robb, yeah, no, he would have been a good king of the North, and I think having Bran maybe as his advisor at a point. If Robb survived and had Bran as his advisor and they stayed up north, that would have been a good duo. I think that would have been a good combo. Now, I'm going to take Rickon's name and I'm just going to erase him. We don't know too much about Rickon. He's too young. We don't know if he would know how to play the game. So we're going to get him taken off right now. So then we have Sansa. Now, this is where the show did right. Having Sansa at the end, on the throne in the North, yes, because she ran a successful rebellion. She figured out how to protect her people. They respect her. She is a Stark. And yeah, and she stayed up north, and yeah, she's the best option, I think. I think if Robb was still alive in this situation, I would have rather had Robb and then maybe Sansa with a smaller family but still in the north. I think would have been a good combo. Arya going off doing her little adventures, perfect. Jon being the lead of the Night's Watch, perfect for him. Bran needs to be some type of advisor. I think he should have stayed with his sister up north and been her advisor personally. Because I think she understands him more than anybody else. But they also they show some scenes forward on that show like he does get the respect. People are like he's part of he's actually legitimate, like just like a symbol, and then we don't know what happens next. So yeah. So far we haven't found anybody I am really in depth of putting on the throne yet. Let's do the Lannisters. So we have Tyrion. We have Tywin, Tyrion, Cersei, and we can't count Jaime because he is part of the Golden Fleet. So let's start oldest. So Tywin. Tywin to me would have been a good start. I think him being an advisor to Joffrey. Oh, and then we have Joffrey. And then his two siblings, which I'm already gonna erase because I don't think they were really. I'm gonna talk about Joffrey for a second, but the other two I'm not really gonna talk about too much. So Tywin, okay, understands war. So he could have also been a really good candidate after Robert's Rebellion. But what he does instead is like, I'm not gonna be king. I'm gonna have you marry my daughter, which makes sense. He can stay on Castle Rock. He can do his war things. Maybe that's where he's happiest. And then he becomes a council person, and that makes sense to Joffrey. For a time, and then he keeps on just going down that line, until his demise. And I think he would have made a good ruler. And here's why. Because I think he understands how to play the game, and he also understands human reaction. So there's a scene where Arya is disguising herself as a boy, and Tywin, you cannot tell me he does not know who she is. And he's playing with her the whole time. She's playing with him the whole time. It's a great scene. But you can't surpass him. So that's the thing that I think Tywin's really good at, is he understands everybody's strengths and weaknesses. So he could build a good council, and he could rule. He understands economics because he's a Lannister, so they understand money. So he wouldn't sit there like Robert and overspend it or anything like that. And I think now, would he be a fair king to the people? I think he would be justice. I think he would find a good medium if it became to the point of where his justice lies. Now, is he following Tyrion around trying to commit his demise? Yes. And that's kind of the only court scene we see of Tywin. And Tyrion's famous line of, "You are punishing me because I am a imp." And he's like, "No." Yeah, and then laughs about it. And I think it's a good scene to show, like, he has motives against his son for some reason. We don't know how he felt about his wife. We don't get that background. We assume that he actually did love her, and maybe that's why he's so angry. And then I wanted to speak about Tyrion. Now, Tyrion to me is the best advisor that any of these kings have seen. So I would keep him there. I wouldn't even talk about putting him on the throne. I think Tywin, out of all the Lannisters, should have been on the throne. He's actually one of my candidates for just winning this whole thing. And I'm going to have to look up his name, so I'm going to have to turn on my computer, guys. I am so sorry. So while my computer's turning on, let's talk about Cersei for a minute. Cersei is too power hungry. She wants the throne because she's another one that goes off of, and she only has one prophecy that she's very obsessed with. So I'm gonna put the North. And I'm gonna put Robb Stark, Sansa Stark, and then Ned Stark. I think those are the good 3 people that we can talk about the North about. And then winning the Game of Thrones. I hope this is not going to be too hard to Okay. So far we have Tywin. And maybe that's how they're supposed to look in the book. Okay. Oh, Joanna is his wife. Okay. So far the North looks pretty good. We have 3 potential rulers. And then we have Tywin winning the whole thing. So, what do I think about Dany? Now, Dany is a hard one because I feel like in a lot of ways, Dany Bloodright should have won the Game of Thrones. Outright, actually, it should have been her brother. It sounds like maybe like her father. Like there was a line. And then Targaryens have always been on the throne for as long as we remember. And then that's the whole idea of breaking the will. Now, what does breaking the will mean? And this kind of goes into my thing of Tywin. So, Tywin being somebody that understands military, and everything, that could be something that breaks the will. It could also break the will that a Lannister is on the throne. And somebody I feel like understands what it is to rule. I think based off of what we kind of can figure about Castle Rock, he's ruling it pretty well. Now, Dany in the books, one is very, very young. So we have that issue that I have with a couple of the characters where I would like to jump, oh, they're winning. I would not just put Dany on the throne because she's a Targaryen. They've had issues with the Targaryens, and that's why Robert has his whole hissy fit in the first season. And they're very unpredictable, sanity-wise. So, with what she does in the last season, that you're supposed to see prior, I just don't think she's emotionally stable. I would not put her on the throne. Personally. And then I want to talk about the Tyrells. So, let me figure out. So, who I would actually have as winning the throne is Margaery. I think Margaery Tyrell would have been a good queen. I really think in my hearts of hearts, she would have made a very good ruler. And if she had Olenna, which is her grandmother, as her council, and her father, Mace Tyrell, I think he was on the council too, they would have ruled fairly for the people. They would have been, to me, more of, we're going into democracy. And that, to me, is what we're leaning in towards at the end of the Game of Thrones, if you want to go based off of show canon. We're going to a democracy. We're going to, you vote, maybe not the people. I don't think it's going to be that type of democracy. I think it's going to be a council of people. Okay, your reign is done. Now what? And they vote for who they think should rule. So I think Margaery would have gone with that new regime. Now, would Tywin have gone? Perhaps. I pretty much think that these two winning the Game of Thrones, because one is very people driven, and Tywin would have been good on her council too. So even if he didn't rule and he was on her council, I think it would have been a really good match because he understands the economics. So she understands the people. She can get the respect from the people. The people can respect the crown again. And he can help her with the economics, if they have to go to war. He understands that. So with them in general, I think this is a power duo. Now, if it involved marriage, who would I want these two to be married to? Whoever's available. Whoever wouldn't take their shine. Tywin, I think, would have ruled by himself. He's old enough where, and in this new line of democracy, I think he would have been okay without taking another wife. And that's why I'm thinking he might be more of a council member. Margaery Tyrell would have probably married who was ever available. She might have been good with a Dorne. And we don't get enough. The reason why I did not bring the Dorne people into this is I don't feel like we got enough of the Dorne culture. I don't understand Oberyn too much to be able to say, like, he would have made a power couple with Margaery. I think inside they were breaking down. You don't hear too much about them outside. So that tells me they seem like they're a very peaceful country. And that's why I think maybe one of the younger Dorne, they could have married Margaery. They could have ruled the Seven Kingdoms. And I really think that's who I would pick. Now, why do I not agree with canon show? And I am almost done, guys. It's because of Bran himself. And why. So, let me talk about Bran for a second. Bran, to me, is too out of it. He is the three-eyed raven. And what we know about the three-eyed raven is you see all, you hear all, you know everything, but they're not human. They lose their humanity. And you can see that in the last 2 seasons when Arya and Sansa go up to him and he's just not there. And I think now, would an all-seeing council member be good? Oh, yes. That's where he would shine. He would shine to warn people of what's going to happen. But is he a good king? No, not at all. Because you have to understand people's emotions. You have to understand where your actions are going to take you to emotionally. You do have to have some type of emotional ties to your actions. And I just don't think that Bran has that. And the reason why he got on the throne was because he had the best story. I'm like, okay, that's not good enough. It's a good sentiment, but not good enough. So, anyways, I think Tywin and Margaery would have been my picks. I'm going to be really curious because there is characters that I'm missing. And I might do another one of these after I read the 5th book. And see if I still agree with my picks. I could change my mind based off of what happens in the later books. But if you stayed for 38 minutes and 47 seconds, thank you so much. Thank you for everybody that comes, watches, and everything. I really do appreciate you. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I will see you in a video coming real soon. Bye!